talking to you guys for a minute. I'm gonna record this so I can put it up on the app for you guys later.
For those who weren't here,
For those
slackers left.
yeah, for the slackers in Hawaii. No, I'm just kidding. So, I kind of wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about combat and weaponry. So, I was thinking about this yesterday. I'm trying to figure out how to like jump into this, how to like start off this conversation. Because the reason why I started thinking about this was because I was thinking about like hand-to-hand martial arts as opposed to like what we do with weapons and why and all that stuff, right? And so the thing is that let me ask it this way: what do you think is better, hand-to-hand or using weapons?
As far as what?
Just martial arts, defending yourself. What's superior?
Well, the weapon would be, to me, but as far as everyday use in countries, hand to hand. Am I going to be able to use a weapon?
Okay, expand on that, and then I'm gonna jump to you.
Well, let's say you're somewhere and you're fixing drunk or something. I mean, not unless you carry a knife like you, most of us don't. So, some type of hand-to-hand combat defense system would be best as far as real life situation.
Okay, and then what were you gonna say, Rick?
Similar to what Mike said, if you're out having dinner somewhere, if you don't have a weapon on you, you kind of need both, really. You need to be able to fence off from both sides. You may not have access to a weapon, you may have to defend yourself right away.
If you don't have access to a weapon, you did something wrong. You should always have access to a weapon. I go everywhere. When I'm at church and I'm playing with the phone up on my church, I got my knife on me. When I go to appointments for work, when I'm like going out as the owner of KB Designs and meeting with people, I got my knife on me. There's a reason why I carry a knife in a nice leather pouch, and it's got a nice frilly design on it and stuff like this. This is, you hand it to somebody, and they go, oh, that's cool, that's cool. Oh, it's a tool as well, but exactly what Rick said. You need both. Okay? So the thing is that with martial arts, what is martial arts really? Martial arts is the study of combat, right? And when you really boil it down, it's the art of war. Martial arts is the art of warfare. It is learning how to overcome your opponent with extreme precision. Extraordinary precision, the way that an artist does with a paintbrush. You should be able to wield this the way that an artist wields a paintbrush. That's the art of it. But its product, what it produces, is destruction, right? It's beautiful in nature. If you see somebody, doing this stuff, it looks cool, but in reality, what I'm doing is I'm slashing and thrusting people. My mind, right? It's destructive, but it's beautiful in nature. That's what martial arts really, when you boil it down, that's what it is. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is so that you guys can have this stuff in your mind with your own training. When you guys are doing your own training, because time separates all of us, okay? Even people that go to the altar and say, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you, have to say until death do us part, right? Because time separates everybody. So at some point, we're not going to be together anymore. And I want you guys to have this stuff to think of, okay? So with martial arts, the reason why I say Rick is like you're spot on with that is because you should have both. You should be able to utilize both. The majority of conflicts happen between, I heard in my Aikido classes, I remember my instructor saying something like 80% of all physical conflict happens between friends and family.
Wow.
I believe that.
Believe it, right? You think about who you get in fights with, right?
Right, you're spending the most time with anyway.
That's it. The people you spend the most time with is generally the people that are getting on your nerves and that you're pissing off too. Let's be real, none of us are perfect, okay? And so 80% of conflict, of physical conflict, is between friends and family. And so if the only thing that you know how to use is something like a sword, that's all you know. Not so, if I'm like, oh, get back, brother! Like that's a little bit extreme, and so, but the thing is, there are some situations where if you have the ability to not do that, to not take it to that extreme level, and just keep it hand in hand, you have the ability to preserve someone, right? But let's talk about the advantages and the disadvantages. So, or let me put it this way. When would you want to use a weapon?
When you can control it.
Okay, when you know you can control the weapon?
Use it to him and then use it against you.
That's one, yeah, you should probably make sure that you can control that sucker if you are going to use it. Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Against another weapon.
Okay, again, you use a weapon against another weapon, that's a real good answer.
When you're in imminent life-threatening danger.
Life or death situation. That's it. You should make sure that you know how to use it, because if you, so if we're not talking about like a sword or a knife, if we're talking about, let's see, do I have it? Yeah. If we're talking about something more like one of these things, this, somebody can grab onto that. You're not going to grab onto that sword, I'm going to cut through your hand. But somebody can grab onto this, and then you're sitting there and don't know what you're doing, and just handing it to somebody, you have to rip it out of your hands, and you just handed them a weapon. So absolutely, that's why this stuff actually matters. But realistically, what you guys said is really where it's at. You want to, if somebody else pulls out a weapon, let me ask it this way. If I was attacking Carson, and there's hand in hand, who's not the advantage?
Usually the person with better motivation.
Okay, let me ask you again. If I, Keenan Barry, 20-year veteran in martial arts, attacked your 12-year-old son who studied nothing, who has the advantage?
You every day.
Very much so, right? If your son was holding this,
Still you.
you think?
I mean, you're getting a 30% chance better, but you're still going to beat him.
I'm going to tell you this right now, Kevin. If your son's holding this knife, he's probably got about an 80% chance to beat you. If I have no weapon and somebody picks up a knife, this is what I realized. This is why I started studying Kali. If a completely untrained person picks up an edged weapon, even with all of my training with defending against weapons, your 12-year-old son would have the advantage. Because all you gotta do, boop, you hit somebody right here, boop, it's done, it's over. It's over. And so that's what weapons do. Now, if your 12-year-old son was holding this, is there any question? Who has the advantage?
No.
No. If you get this to, and your 12-year-old son, he's pretty big. You don't have to really be, you just touch anything that an edge weapon touches, creates change. Okay? You touch something with this, it changes it. Okay? You slide this across your arm, barely, and you're going to the hospital. Okay? The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I want you guys to think about this stuff. to think about why it's studying this, to think about the applications of this. When it would be appropriate to use weapons, when is it most appropriate to not use weapons? It's very important to have that drilled into your mind and in your heart, because when a situation comes up, you got that much time to react and you get no do-overs. You can never go in to try again. Whatever happens, happens. Okay? And the reason why I say you should always have a knife is because let's suppose this is hand in hand and somebody pulls out a weapon, picks up a bottle, breaks it, whatever. Now it's not hand in hand. Now they've got a weapon. I don't. I do. I do. If somebody pulls out a weapon, do not fight hand against weapon. I've gone to so many martial arts classes. I have trained this. I have trained empty hands against various weapons in Kung Fu, in Aikido, in Danzan Jiu-Jitsu. I've even done some stuff with some boxers and things like that. I've studied multiple different art forms on how to defend against weapons. If you don't have one, I'm telling you right now, it doesn't work. Everything out there that they're teaching you, when you do all this X block, everyone's going to do this thing, nope. Nope. Especially if somebody's got an edge weapon, because all I have to do is I'm coming like this, all I have to do is go whoop, adjust that angle ever so slightly and I'll cut you. That's all it takes. So, if somebody pulls out a knife, even if you are the most badass dude on the planet, pull out your knife. Turn it into a knife fight. Do not do empty hands against a weapon. If somebody picks up a stick, pull out your knife. If you don't have a knife on you, what do you think you should probably go and get? Even a folder. Even a folder. Because if you just pull out a folder and you just pop it open real quick, look at how, I can just stand here, I got that out and it's concealed. Like that quick. And if you didn't know it was there, you have no idea. And I got that. I got it out, concealed it, bang, that fast. And I'm armed. And if I have a knife, and somebody has a firearm, and it's holstered, within 21 feet, I have the advantage. If it's unholstered, and then they're not a good shot, I could probably be within like 8 feet and still have the advantage on that person, because I know how to have angles and stuff like that. In close quarters, in my opinion, this is the most superior weapon that there is. In close, that you can carry on you. Close quarters, most superior weapon, realistically, is this. Okay? But I can't walk around with this strapped to my hip everywhere. This isn't Rome, right? I can't do that. But realistically, this is the best weapon for close quarters. But for our modern society, I highly recommend you guys carry the knife. Because it's a tool first. I use this all the time. Opening things, it's a screwdriver. I just used it the other day. I use this constantly. It's a very good tool to have, but when it comes down to it, if it is one of those 20% situations where it's not a friend or a family member, where it is a life or death situation, where you do have your kid or your wife or your whoever with you, and you need to be able to defend them, you should be able to pull something out that's not an equalizer. It gives you the advantage. Especially with the training you guys are receiving in here, very much so gives you the advantage. Questions or comments about any of that?
Is that legal?
What?
Carrying a knife?
Mm-hmm. In Washington, it is. Yeah, open carry, like this? Absolutely.
There's specific specifications sometimes, like switchblades,
Mhm.
or depending on what state you're in, switchblades are illegal,
Blade.
and then like the length of the blade, but it is legal to carry
Yep, absolutely. You can carry a knife and
without And
Without concealed, the issue is most of the time that's usually concealed carry anyway. But you can carry a knife. And I haven't looked at it, but I would be surprised if there was any state in the United States that you couldn't walk around with some blade on you. It is, generally speaking, the easiest thing to get your hands on and to cause a great amount of injury. Just an edge weapon. And it doesn't even really take much. Even with, go ahead, do you have something to say?
You said something interesting, which is unfortunately the world we live in. If he had a gun in self-defense, he shot some guy, and you said, which is true, they'll probably take you away if you shot a gun. What if you really hurt or kill someone with a knife? At least they'll take you away too?
Absolutely.
Same thing.
Absolutely. Unless you, but here's the thing, is with a knife, I have a lot more control over where I hit you with a knife. If I shoot you, especially if I'm at a distance, like I'm hitting you in the chest, and that's puncturing, it's penetrating. With a knife, the deadly strikes with a knife are your thrusts. That's the penetrating strikes. That's going to do the maximum amount of damage. A gun is 100% thrusting, right? You shoot somebody, thrusting, all the time. With a knife, you have slashes as well. This gives you more options. It gives you a lot more options. Because I can do something like cut you in the face, make you bleed, make you remember me, but it's not going to kill you. You know, I can do something where I can cut you in your hand, cut you on the chest, ruin that nice jacket of yours, but it's not even gonna hurt you. Just boom! And just show it. It's right there. You slash them, especially right now, it's the winter. You slash them across the chest. They're like, whoa, whoa! And they got a nice cut across their chest, but you didn't actually damage them. You got hurt. So the reason why I say a knife is it gives you a lot more control over the situation, especially if you don't call legal. But with that, on that point, if you kill somebody, point blank, period, you're going to prison. If you
Even self-defense.
good luck.
Really?
Who's to say? Who gets to choose that? Who gets to decide?
A jury. Yeah.
Who gets to decide, right? You don't get to decide whether or not it's self-defense. None of us do. We don't get to decide. A jury of our peers gets to decide that. Or a judge. You want to leave your fate into those people's hands? But here's the thing. If it's between life and going to prison, like I'm going to go to prison. You know, if it's my life, or if it's my kid's life, and you know, I'm going to go to prison, whether or not a judge, regardless if I go to prison or not, I'm getting arrested. At that, like when the cops show up, I'm getting arrested. Whether or not I'm proven to be innocent, they're going to haul me away until my trial, and probably going to have multiple trials. So understand that as well, which is why I want to have this conversation with you guys, because that's what martial arts really does for you, is it gives you options. When a moment happens, I have more options than the average person because I have a boatload of training. And so I can remain in control of that situation. If I have to draw my weapon, I have developed the mental, the emotional, and the physical control to know how to control that situation. And if I'm going to slash at somebody, if I'm going to thrust at somebody, it's intentional, and I know what I'm doing. But there's also things that you can do if you don't necessarily want to carry like a knife around with you. This is something that I got on a martial arts website. This is just a keychain weapon. It's a little fist tap. You carry it in the call grip. Put the thumb on the cap, grab. Puncture, that's going to be a nice little puncturing wound. You hit somebody in the arm, hit somebody in the chest, or something like that. It's not going to go deep enough to where you're going to, depending on where you hit them, you can cause major arterial bleeding. But for the most part, this is going to do surface level damage. And then it turns your keys into something akin to a flexible weapon, like nunchucks, right? And so now I can just pull out my keys, I've got a thrusting tip, and I've got something for these slashes. You get hit with these keys in your face, you're gonna feel that for 3 days.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There was an old movie with Burt Reynolds. He did some of the Predator. Just a slash across the face. And I think, I don't know if you're going with this also, but I think part of it is to deter the attacker. So if you do, I don't know, I guess it'd be like, almost like side ops. It's like, what our Green Berets and people do. Just, they found out it was more destructive to an enemy unit to wound someone than to kill them.
Yep.
So kind of like carrying over this, he put a big slash across someone's face, like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of bleeding. So they'll stop.
Yep.
So that's where the control comes in, where you're saying, choose it. Now, if this guy's a total psycho, and you do that, and he's still coming at you, then you know you got a whole another can of worms.
Yep.
Be more lethal. So,
Yep. And that's exactly it. Or the impact that can have on the friends.
right.
Because the thing is that if you get into a fight in the real world, especially somebody like you, me, like you guys, if somebody attacks you guys, that's what they do. Most likely, they have a perceived advantage. Either they're bigger than you, which that means that's a real big dude, or they've got some sort of weapon, or they got some homies with them, right? So they've got some sort of an advantage over you. And so if you do something like a deterrent, one, carrying an open blade, this is part of why I carry an open blade and a nice leather holder, because people that are looking to cause problems, you think they see that? Yep, sure do. People that aren't looking to cause problems, like here, you know, Brent, and people that are trained, they see Brent and be like, oh, somebody's there. You know, people pay attention to it. That's a deterrent, just having it on my hip. You have to pull it out and slash one of their homies across the face, and all their buddies see their friend, like the nose hanging off their face. You think they're gonna wanna continue against you too? This is psychological stuff, right? This is why I want to talk about this, because in this class, we do a lot of, this is step here, strike like that. If you step here, contact, we do all the mechanics, right? Getting things down. And it's super, super, super important to understand the why, to understand the application, to understand, start to think about the situations that this stuff could apply. And then how would I use this here? How would I use this here? If this was this person attacking me, how would I need to adjust it? Think along those lines when you're developing your art form, just as you're traveling through martial arts. You know, we're here now, but hopefully you guys continue your training, you know, wherever this life leads you. But as you're learning this stuff, as you're developing your skills, really take the time to think about the application, to think about all this stuff that we just talked about. I mean, go through it all again.
So what you're saying is, with the sticks, that will carry over with the knife.
Say it again.
With the stick, what we do with the sticks also carries over with a knife. We do the same things, and utilize what we've been training with the sticks, with the knife.
Yep. That's basically what the 12 areas of Kali teaches you. Technically 12 areas of Kali. It's the different weapons, right? So we've got Solo Espada, Do Espada, Espada Yugada, Solo Daga, Do Saga. Then you start getting into spear, sword and shield, flexible weapons, whip. There's all these different weapons that you use. But the whole reason of the point of that is you'll see as you learn these different weapon categories, the system itself doesn't change. The system is transferable. Some things you need to make some slight adjustments with, but it becomes exactly what you said. That because this is not the weapon. What's the weapon? I'm the weapon. I'm the weapon. It doesn't matter what's in my hand. I can have nothing in my hand. That's the one. That's a 2. That's a 3. That's a 4. It's the same movement. I'm stepping left 45, boom, right? I'm quartering you. It's all the same stuff, okay? Whether you have a weapon, whether you don't, whether it's a long weapon, whether it's a short weapon, this stuff is applicable, okay? Making sense?
Yes.
Cool. All right. Let's move on to do you guys anyone get other questions?
What is that thing in here?
This is a keychain one.
It has.
I have got-
practical uses.
I've gotten that through security and everything. I've gone to concerts in Portland and had the empty out of my pocket, and I just plopped that on the thing. I didn't have a knife on me, but I plopped that sucker in the basket. It's a keychain. People, they glance at it, they don't even think about it. I went into a concert armed because I had that. You know what I mean?
You got PTSA with that?
No, I haven't tried going for TSA. I probably would have tried going for TSA with it, probably wouldn't for TSA. But going through security checkpoints at something like a concert, things like that, you can get through it with,
This is the way to get through security.
boom, there you go.
The rigid pin.
There you go.
It's all metal.
Uh-huh.
That's why I got it, was because it was that design, but in a pen, and now I can carry it anywhere.
This
Solid ass metal.
is the same thing as this. Same thing. When you are doing our thrusts, boom, you know, all these thrust slashes and stuff that we're doing with this, if I got this in my hand, it's the same thing. Boom, I can slash you. It doesn't change. Doesn't change. So yes, you're right. Things like this. I'm gonna put this up against to the camera because this is great. This is actually an amazing thing. Metal pins, stuff like that. Think along those lines for defense things because because of all these things, right? Give yourself options. That's the whole point. Give yourself options and understand that this is real life. This is not a movie. That you get one chance, and that also the choices that you make have consequences. All right. Now with that sobering talk, let's